Some years ago, I began really looking at the concept of stewardship. We usually rush through a stewardship drive in the last part of the year, and this year we did a more involved one. Well, today you're going to hear a message about stewardship, and it has absolutely nothing to do about money. No, we're called to be good stewards of all that God gives us, and God entrusts to us a body. And I admit it, I'm bad at this. I eat too much fast food. I love just about anything that's slathered with béarnaise or hollandaise sauce. And after getting my blood work back last week, well, I can tell you my LDLs are up, and so I probably should refrain from eating those things. Well, perhaps you have a weakness too. Today we look at the goodness of the body that God makes in the words of the psalmist, and a precaution in the words of Paul to guard, that is, to be a good steward of the body that God has purchased for you. Now, gestations of humans in their mother's womb is a mystery. From the moment of their conception, God begins a dividing process, cell by cell, until gradually a body is formed. We see this little crescent-shaped being at about 7 weeks that already has eyes and a beating heart. By 11 weeks, there are little fingers and toes, and the psalmist reminds us of all of these everyday miracles, saying, "For you yourself created me in my inmost parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I will thank you because I am marvelously made. Your works are wonderful, and I know it well." I wonder if we really contemplated how incredible it is that we're even on this planet, born into space and time, and of the millions of sperm, 1/2 of your genetic code had to come from the fastest and the strongest to find your mother's egg first. God's way of knitting you together, well, it's also God's way of saying every one of us is a winner. So if being made did not escape God's plan, what about the creation he redeemed? Paul reminds us that we were bought with a price, and we are to glorify God in our bodies. Too much of anything is harmful. Sugar, alcohol, salt, starch, fat, red meat, you name it. As the writer of the poem Life's Lessons reminds us, even the sunshine burns if you get too much. There are other ways of looking at stewardship of the body. Paul throws out this word fornication. Now, it's a word we don't often use, but it's helpful to look at its Greek roots. It is porneia in Greek, literally anything that uses our body in an unclean way, outside of God's express design for our use of it. Now, we interpret it in light of the concept of sexuality, but I think there's a little more than that. I think it's also, where do we put our hearts? And where do we fixate our eyes? Do we have custody over this whole body, or do we let it stew in things that we know are very much not God's will for us? Do we put all of it, including this mortal body, under the lordship of Jesus? And one last way I would challenge us to look at the stewardship of the body is in terms of exercise. Now, I'm blessed to have a walking partner, and I've done this for some years now. It gives us a chance for conversation and some very real exercise. Now, the doctors tell us that we need 30 minutes of increased cardiovascular exercise every week. Do you get up and walk? I'm not suggesting some hardcore gym membership or running a 5K. I'm simply saying, do you get up and walk? Elevate your heart rate at least 3 times a week, or even better yet, every day. God, who knit us together in our inmost parts, and who loves us and gave his Son for us, challenges us to give a return on his giving us our bodies in the same way that he asks for a return on what he gives us in terms of monetary resources. Challenge yourself this week. Have I seen that I am wonderfully made? And what am I doing about it?